With the Nintendo Switch release on the horizon, I thought it would be a good time to take a second and talk about the Wii U. More specifically, where it went wrong. The Wii U is without a doubt a failure in Nintendo's eyes. The system performed worse than expectations, and productions of new consoles has already been cancelled only 4 years into the console's lifespan. That is the shortest for any Nintendo console to date. So, what went wrong? Well, I believe it's the combination of a few different things that unfortunately led to the failure of the Wii U. So, let's talk about it. Number 5. Branding. I think we can all agree that naming the successor to the Wii U, was a bad idea. It created confusion for the consumer. A lot of people were unaware that the Wii U was a completely new console, and instead thought it was some add-on to the existing Wii hardware. And really, can you blame them? If you aren't already an avid gamer, you probably aren't paying too much attention to every new console that gets announced, or keeping up with industry news that much, so if you see something called the Wii U, at first glance I can totally see someone believing it's just another add-on to a console that they already own. So why would Nintendo name it this to begin with? Well, I can't say for certain, but I'll give you my thoughts on it. If you look at the performance of Nintendo consoles since the release of the original Nintendo Entertainment System, sales figures dropped every single generation without fail, the exception being the Wii. Remember how hard it was to find a Wii for the first few months of release? Websites and dedicated forums popped up all over the place just to try and help people find one. Heck, I even got up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to get mine from a Target. The Wii hit the market with a new idea and a perfect price point at the right time. Everyone from young to old people were playing the Wii, and I think Nintendo wanted to keep that brand alive by attaching it to this new console. Sadly for them, it didn't work, and that brings me to my next point. Number 4. Advertising. We probably all remember the "we would like to play" commercials for the original Wii. I know I can recall seeing them on TV a lot back when the console first launched. Now, with that in mind, how many of you guys can remember seeing commercials for the Wii U on TV? I actually can't remember seeing a single commercial for the Wii U, and I guess you could argue that I'm watching TV less and less these days, but even so, the only time I remember seeing an advertisement for the Wii U was on Nintendo's own YouTube channel. I'm sure they exist, but the point still stands. If someone such as myself, who is active in the games industry, can't recall seeing an advertisement for one of my favorite company's newest game system, that's a problem. I'm not sure if Nintendo was trying to save money with the launch of the Wii U, or perhaps they just thought the Wii brand was strong enough that it didn't need the extra advertisement. But whatever the case, I'm a firm believer that the Wii U needed a much larger advertising budget. And those advertisements should have explained that this was a new console, and not some add-on to the already existing Wii hardware. Perhaps if these ads were as prevalent as the ad campaign for the original Wii, it would have alleviated some of the confusion about the new console. It's tough to say for sure, but hey, it really couldn't have hurt. Number 3. Lack of software. A games console is only as good as the games it can play, and unfortunately for Nintendo, they launched the Wii U with just about the worst lineup in recent history. No Zelda, no Metroid, no Mario Kart, no Smash. One of the only games worth owning at launch was New Super Mario Bros. U, which at this point isn't really new. Don't get me wrong, I love the new Super Mario Bros. Series and I think they're great platformers, but it's hard for me to get excited for another 8 worlds with the same themes and only like 2 new power-ups. You could argue that some of the other games that launched were great, and I'm not here to question that. My point is that none of these games were system sellers, so to speak. No one was running out to the store to buy a Wii U just so they could play Wonderful 101 is what I'm saying. Nintendo really needed a solid launch lineup of games, but they rushed the Wii U out to market and didn't give people a reason to actually want to buy one. And here we are several years later. What games are actually worth owning on Wii U? I mean, Smash Bros. For sure, and Super Mario 3D World is one of my favorite games. But I feel like the Wii U only has a handful of games worth owning even now. To make matters worse, because of how poorly the system performed, Nintendo is actually porting some of these games to other consoles. The 3DS is getting a port of Yoshi's Woolly World and Super Mario Maker. They already ported over Hyrule Warriors, which was previously the only exclusive Zelda game on Wii U, and it appears like they're planning to port Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon over to the Nintendo Switch upon release. So it seems like any must-play games on the Wii U can all be played somewhere else, making owning one seem less and less appealing. Number 2. This one gets thrown around a lot, but I tend to agree, and that is the lack of third-party support. As I said in my last point, a games console is only as good as the games, and the third-party support was abysmal for Nintendo with the Wii U. It seems like only a few third-party developers were interested in creating or porting games over to the Wii U. I can't really provide you with an accurate reason as to why, but if I had to guess, I would say the biggest issue was the hardware. It's no secret that the Wii U was underpowered compared to other consoles of that generation, but on top of that, it made use of older processor types. While the Xbox One and the PS4 both switched to using processors more in line with modern PCs, the Wii U was rocking a 3-core ARM processor that could be comparable to just stacking 3 Wiis on top of each other. This would no doubt make it much harder to port games over from either the Xbox or the PS4 to the Wii U than it would be to port something over from, say, Xbox to PS4. In turn, this would lead to extra development time and cost the developer a lot of money. Money that needs to be recuperated somehow, and seeing as the Wii U already wasn't doing well, people just didn't bother. This created a sort of catch-22 where you could say the Wii U sold poorly due to lack of games and third-party support, but you could also say the lack of third-party support in games is directly related to the Wii U selling poorly. No matter which way you look at it, something was wrong, and sadly it was never fixed in time to save the console. Number 1. Nintendo's own Arrogance. Now don't get me wrong, I love Nintendo, I really do, but sometimes the company can be a little arrogant to the point where it actually hurts them. The Wii U gamepad is the perfect example of this. The gamepad was a cool and interesting gimmick. However, that's really all it ever was, just another gimmick. And like most gimmicky things, its relevancy soon faded. And I know that a lot of people, myself included, despite actually liking how the gamepad feels, still prefer to use any other controller when possible. And it seems like most other developers figured this out, since in a vast majority of Wii U games, the gamepad screen is only used for like menus or inventory or other non-essential information, minor uses that weren't at all mandatory and instead just made things a little more convenient for those who chose to use it. Nintendo, on the other hand, did the opposite. They doubled down on the gamepad and tried to implement it as much as they could in every first-party game. As a result, some of these implementations feel very shoehorned in and take away from the overall experience of the player. I've said this before, but anytime I'm made aware of the controls in a game for any reason, it breaks my immersion almost immediately. And to me, it's a sign of flawed game design principle. Controls should be natural, responsive, and non-intrusive. If a gimmick has a major conflict with any of those ideas, perhaps it's better not including it, or better yet, creating an option for the player to decide how they would like to play. A good example of this is Star Fox Zero, a game that I personally think is good, but could have been great, and perhaps it could have been the best Star Fox game ever had it not been crippled by gimmicky controls. For those unfamiliar with how the game works, in Star Fox Zero you have 2 views, the out-of-ship third-person view that most Star Fox fans are accustomed to, and the inside the cockpit first-person view that is displayed on the gamepad. While flying, you tilt and rotate the gamepad to aim, and while yes, you do have a reticule on both screens, not only is the gamepad view more accurate, it's sometimes required to hit certain targets. This is something Nintendo called asymmetric gameplay, but I think that it's fundamentally flawed, since you have too much important information on both screens at the same time. While playing, you actually need to constantly juggle between what's on the TV and what's on the gamepad. This removes any immersion the game had and takes focus away from the game and onto the controls themselves. And I'm fine with gimmicks. I think Nintendo has some great ideas. However, I truly believe that Nintendo should have included a more traditional control scheme alongside with Star Fox Zero. Had they done that, I think the game would have not only sold better, but would have received much higher praise all around. Now, those are just the 5 biggest reasons I believe the console failed. I'm sure there are a few more things you could list, like the lackluster online and account system, the inability to play Blu-ray movies, or even just the timing of the console's release. But I don't want to make this video longer than it already is. Personally, I love my Wii U. Out of this generation of consoles, it's probably my second favorite, the first going to the PS4, which I don't even own. It's just that I own a Wii U and an Xbox One, and I hate the Xbox One so much by default the PS4 is the best for me without even needing to own it. Thankfully for us Nintendo fans, the Switch is on the horizon, and from what we've seen and heard, it looks like Nintendo is on the right track, so the future is looking pretty bright. I'd love to hear your thoughts though, so what are your opinions on the Wii U as a whole? Do you love it, hate it, and why do you think it performed so badly? I look forward to reading your responses. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. But once again, guys, my name is Matt. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.